Hello, Immortal News family, and welcome back to our channel. In the last 24 hours, we have received the somber news of the passing of extraordinary talents, and today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Before we start, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you. Number 6. A poem's job, Bryant Voigt once said, is to bring us to attention, to hold us still and make us listen. Those words, like much of her work, captured not just the art, but the soul behind it. Bryant Voigt, the visionary poet and educator whose voice helped shape generations of American writers, has passed away at 82. She died peacefully at her home in Vermont after a long illness, surrounded by family and words that mattered. Through her poetry, she turned grief, joy, and human complexity into stark beauty. Her collection, Kyrie, written in sonnet form, transformed the 1918 flu pandemic into a deeply personal reckoning with loss. It was one of several acclaimed works that brought readers closer to the quiet truths most are afraid to name. But Ellen's influence stretched far beyond the page. In the 1970s, at a time when creative writing programs were limited in access, she envisioned a different way forward. She created the country's first low-residency MFA model, allowing gifted writers to pursue their craft without leaving behind their families or livelihoods. That vision became the MFA program for writers at Warren Wilson College and the blueprint for dozens more across the nation. She published 9 books of poetry, including finalists for the National Book Award and the Pulitzer Prize. Known for her precision, elegance, and commitment to musicality and language, she also wrote 2 beloved books about poetry's craft. Her voice stayed clear and generous, never distant. In 2015, she was awarded a MacArthur Fellowship, recognizing not just her poetry, but her lifelong dedication to the art form. She also served as Vermont's Poet Laureate and was a Chancellor of the Academy of American Poets. Beyond her achievements, Ellen was a teacher, a mentor, and a fierce champion for the literary community. "She helped me believe," one former student said, "that poems could matter, that I could matter." She is survived by her 2 children and an extraordinary legacy that continues in classrooms, bookshelves, and notebooks filled with first drafts. Bryant Voigt listened hard and taught others how to listen too. Her words will keep doing that for a long time. Tributes to Bryant Voigt. Number 5. He walked quietly, thought deeply, and changed the world without needing the spotlight. Walter Dowdle, age 94, passed away peacefully in Hahira, Georgia. A humble giant in public health, his decades-long work touched corners of the world many never see, and saved countless lives. Walter served his country first in the U.S. Army and Air Force, flying in the Berlin airlift and offering care during the Korean War. That sense of duty propelled him into science, where he earned degrees in bacteriology and microbiology before stepping into a historic career at the CDC. Over 34 years, Walter shaped responses to polio, influenza, and HIV. He launched programs, built global labs, and guided science with calm wisdom and quiet force. Colleagues say he embodied integrity. One friend remarked, "He never let ego get in the way of the mission." He served as deputy director of the CDC and stepped in to lead when needed. But titles never defined Walter. His work did. At the Task Force for Global Health, he extended his reach, developing initiatives like the Mallarone Donation Program and Children Without Worms. These programs continue to help vulnerable communities today. He also chaired health boards, guided WHO collaborations, and built lab networks, still vital in disease control. Yet his daily walks to work, stopping to pick up trash along the path, told as much about him as any title. Those closest to him recall a steady, kind presence, a brilliant mind, yet soft-spoken, firm in truth, but gentle in delivery. He celebrated 72 years of marriage with his beloved wife Mabel. Together they raised a family rooted in love and service. Walter is survived by Mabel, 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. His passion to prevent suffering never faded, even after retiring at 81. Many of today's strongholds in global health still carry his fingerprints, quiet but clear. Walter Dowdle lived a life of purpose, and the impact of that life stretches far beyond his time here. He leaves behind a world healthier, stronger, and more resilient because of him. Tributes to Walter Dowdle. Number 4. She had this way of walking into a room and making you feel like the most important person there. That's how one teammate once described Colleen Jones, a woman whose spirit and smile brightened every rink, broadcast booth, and living room across Canada. Colleen passed away at 65 after a brave 3-year battle with cancer. She spent her final days peacefully at her home near the ocean in Maiders Cove, Nova Scotia. Though her passing brings deep sadness, her legacy shines brighter than ever. Colleen wasn't just a champion, she was a game-changer. Over 2 decades, she rewrote curling history, leading her team to 6 national titles and 2 world championships. Her run of 4 consecutive national titles as a skip had never been seen before. She still holds the record for most national championship appearances, a stunning 21. Her fierce determination on the ice inspired players across generations. Beyond athletics, Colleen won hearts as a broadcaster, bringing curling into the homes of millions. Her voice, warm and full of knowledge, turned casual viewers into passionate fans. She approached sports storytelling with heart, humor, and a deep respect for the games and athletes she covered. With every victory and every broadcast, she showed that excellence and kindness can go hand in hand. Her love for the sport was contagious, and her ability to connect, whether with audiences or teammates, was unmatched. Off the ice, she mentored the next generation, including her son Luke, who recently represented Nova Scotia at the Brier under her guidance. Her involvement didn't end with retirement. She kept giving, coaching, encouraging, and cheering others on. Fellow curlers remember her as a true competitor, but an even better friend. Fans called her Canada's curling heart. Those close to her will simply remember a woman who gave it her all, every single time. Colleen Jones lived with energy, purpose, and joy. Her story will continue to inspire future athletes, broadcasters, and dreamers. Tributes to Colleen Jones. Number 3. Above all, The Independent exists because of a shared belief that the readers of quality newspapers are not well served. These were the words Sir Andreas Whittam Smith wrote in his first editorial. They became a mission statement, not just for a paper, but for a movement in journalism led by a man of bold principle and vision. Sir Andreas passed away peacefully at the age of 88. His death marks the end of a chapter in British journalism, but his story will echo for generations. Long before founding the UK's youngest national newspaper, he was already reshaping how financial news was reported. As city editor for both The Guardian and The Daily Telegraph, and later as editor of Investors' Chronicle, he brought clarity and depth to complex subjects. But it was in 1986 that his greatest leap took shape. With fellow journalists Matthew Simons and Stephen Glover, he launched The Independent, a newspaper free from the influence of political parties and proprietors. It challenged norms, covered overlooked areas like health and education, and demanded accountability in both government and industry. His tenure as editor lasted 8 years, but his influence lasted far longer. Colleagues often spoke of his steady calm and relentless integrity. He believed journalism must serve the public, not power, one former editor said. He was unshakable in that belief. Outside journalism, Sir Andreas brought that same sense of responsibility to his role as president of the British Board of Film Classification. His judgments were thoughtful and balanced, always with the public interest in mind. He was also honored with a CBE for his services to journalism and public life. Even after leaving his editorial post, he remained a regular contributor to The Independent. He never sought the spotlight, but quietly shaped conversations that mattered. Sir Andreas Whittam-Smith's passing is a profound loss to those who knew him and to the public that benefited from his fearless conviction. His legacy isn't just in headlines or columns, it's in the commitment to truth he upheld every single day. Tributes to Sir Andreas Whittam-Smith. Number 2. Everything that's good about West Ham. That's how Joe Cole remembered him, and it's how so many will continue to think of Billy Bonds. Billy passed away peacefully at the age of 79, surrounded by loved ones. His loss is deeply felt, not just by his family, but by the entire football world. He gave everything to the game, and especially to one club. For 27 years, West Ham United was his life. As a player, he made 799 appearances, the most in the team's history. Tireless, fearless, and loyal, he wore the claret and blue with unmatched pride. He captained West Ham to 2 FA Cup victories and lifted a second division title. Fans knew they could trust him. He gave them hope, and often, glory. Off the pitch, Billy's leadership continued. As manager, he led the Hammers to promotion back to the top flight. His integrity never faded. Just like during his playing days, he faced every challenge with quiet toughness and resolve. Recognition came often. Hammer of the Year 4 times, an MBE, and a PFA Merit Award. In 2018, fans voted him the club's greatest ever player, and in 2019, West Ham honored his legacy by naming a stadium stand after him, the Billy Bonds Stand. To many, he wasn't just a footballer. He was an example of courage and humility, a player who never asked for praise, but always earned it. Jared Bowen called him probably the club's biggest legend. Supporters knew it too. That number 4 shirt meant something special, especially when it lay in front of the stand that bears his name during West Ham's tribute to him. That giant banner of Billy holding the FA Cup wasn't just a memory. It was a symbol of everything he meant. Players stood in silence. Fans cheered and cried. Black armbands were worn with pride. He's survived by his daughters, Claire and Katie, and his granddaughters, Eloise and Alyssa. His family, like his club, were everything to him. Billy Bonds leaves behind more than a record. He leaves behind a legacy of heart, honor, and homegrown greatness. He will never be forgotten at West Ham or in English football. Tributes to Billy Bonds. What's trending on the internet? News 1. Every so often a story comes along that reminds us how much character and courage still matter in public life, even when the spotlight is bright and the pressure is intense. Today we're talking about South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, a prominent national figure who has found herself in the middle of some very strong reactions online, especially after new reporting about her time in Washington during the Trump administration. While the political details have stirred plenty of debate, what stands out for many people is the larger conversation this has sparked about leadership, responsibility, and how our choices affect the people around us. According to recent reports, Governor Noem was involved in discussions about how the D.C. National Guard might respond during a difficult and uncertain time in our nation's capital. For many older Americans who remember other tense moments in history, it's a reminder that decisions made behind closed doors can shape not just policy, but also trust, confidence, and the feeling of safety in our own country. What's worth focusing on today is not the back and forth of partisan politics, but the opportunity this moment creates. It's encouraging to see so many Americans, from all walks of life, asking thoughtful questions about how our leaders use their authority, how we treat our service members, and how we balance security with our deepest national values. That kind of engagement, especially from folks who have lived through decades of change, is a sign that people still care deeply about the direction of our country. For older viewers who might have family members in uniform or who served themselves, this story can serve as a gentle reminder of the importance of honoring those who wear the uniform by supporting calm, careful, and principled decision-making at the very top. It's also a chance to talk with children and grandchildren about why integrity, honesty, and accountability matter, no matter which side of the political aisle someone is on. In the middle of all the headlines and heated online discussion, there's a hopeful takeaway here. Moments like this can inspire better conversations, stronger expectations of our leaders, and a renewed commitment to the values that unite us, like respect for service, love of country, and care for one another. As time goes on, this chapter will likely be remembered less for any one quote or controversy, and more for how Americans responded, reflected, and chose to move forward. If we use it as a reminder to seek truth, treat each other kindly, and ask more of the people who represent us, then this moment can help strengthen the very fabric of our democracy and the legacy we leave for future generations. News 2. A movie is special when families, kids, and even grandparents are all heading back to the theater together. Disney's Zootopia 2 has done exactly that, roaring into the box office with a record-breaking opening weekend that's turning a beloved story into a true modern classic. Returning to the bustling animal city of Zootopia, the film reunites fans with Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde, and early audiences are praising its humor, heart, and timely themes. The sequel's huge success is especially meaningful for viewers who saw the first film nearly a decade ago and are now bringing along children and grandchildren to share the experience. Industry watchers say this kind of family event movie is bringing a warm sense of togetherness back to cinemas. However you watch it, Zootopia 2 will likely be remembered as a playful, thoughtful adventure that reminded us all of the power of kindness, courage, and community. News 3. Every once in a while a story comes along that reminds us what quiet courage and kindness really look like. In Hedgesville, West Virginia, a tight-knit community is remembering one of their own. 28-year-old Army National Guard Staff Sergeant William Francis Reinheimer II. Friends and family called him Billy. He was a Hedgesville High School graduate, a husband, a father, and a guardsman who spent years serving his country and his neighbors. News of his tragic death during a National Guard training exercise has left his hometown heartbroken. But when you listen to the people who knew him best, what they talk about most is not the circumstances of his passing, but the way he lived. Teachers at Hedgesville High remember Billy as the kid who always stepped up without being asked, the one who would grab an extra chair, help carry equipment, or stay a little late to make sure things were done right. Classmates describe him as caring, willing to help anyone, and the kind of friend who made others feel safe and supported. After high school, Billy carried that same spirit into the West Virginia National Guard. He became the person others could count on, a steady teammate, a patient mentor to younger soldiers, and a devoted family man off duty. Those who served alongside him say he led by example, with quiet strength and a big heart. Back home, the community has been gathering to honor his memory. At Hedgesville High, people have shared stories, old photos, and memories of a young man who always seemed to put others first. You can feel the pride in the way they talk about him, and the gratitude that someone like Billy chose a life of service. While there is real sorrow in losing someone so young, there is also a deep sense of thankfulness for the time they had with him. Billy Reinheimer is being remembered not just as a soldier, but as a son, a husband, a father, a classmate, and a neighbor, who showed up, helped out, and cared deeply. In the end, that may be the legacy that matters most, a life that quietly lifted up the people around him. In Hedgesville and beyond, Staff Sergeant William Francis Reinheimer II will be honored for his service, cherished for his kindness, and remembered as a hometown hero whose example will continue to inspire for years to come. News 4. You know, some days really remind us how strong and caring people can be when things don't go as planned. In the upper Midwest, crews in Wisconsin have been working around the clock to restore power after a powerful winter storm swept through the region, coating roads and power lines in ice. In Iowa, at the same time, a plane slid off an icy runway at an airport, prompting a temporary shutdown while teams carefully checked the airfield and worked to reopen it safely. In Wisconsin, thousands of families woke up to find their homes dark and cold. Linemen and utility workers bundled up and headed out into the freezing wind, climbing poles, repairing downed lines, and checking each neighborhood one by one. Many of them worked long shifts through the night, often far from their own families, just to make sure the lights and heat could come back on for everyone else. Over in Iowa, airport staff, emergency responders, and maintenance crews moved quickly and calmly after the plane left the icy runway. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries reported, and passengers were able to get to safety. Ground teams inspected the aircraft, cleared ice, and checked the runway from end to end, determined to reopen the airport only when they were absolutely sure it was safe. Their steady teamwork helped turn a frightening moment into a story of careful preparation and calm response. What really stands out in both places is the quiet heroism of everyday people, utility workers braving the cold, first responders guiding passengers and reassuring families, airport staff and local officials communicating clearly, putting safety first, and showing patience when plans had to change. Neighbors checked on older residents, shared warm meals, and offered spare blankets or a place to stay until the power came back. For many older Americans, scenes like this bring back memories of big winter storms from years past, when communities pulled together, shared what they had, and looked out for one another. The tools may be a little more advanced today, but the spirit is the same. When trouble hits, people step up. As power comes back on across Wisconsin and flights slowly resume in Iowa, what lingers is not just the memory of the storm, but the reminder that compassion, resilience, and simple kindness still shine brightest on the coldest, darkest days. And that's how this moment will be remembered, as a testament to the people who quietly showed up, worked together, and helped their neighbors find warmth, safety, and hope again. News 5. Let's talk about a story that's been bringing a lot of people hope in a very uncertain time. The ongoing push for peace in Ukraine, and some encouraging signs coming out of Florida. In recent days, key talks were held in Florida about ending the war in Ukraine, and among the voices speaking out afterward was United States Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. He described the discussions as productive, but he was also very honest. There is still more work to do before a true peace deal can be reached. These conversations brought together American leaders, international partners, and experts who care deeply about finding a path forward. The focus was on how to protect Ukraine's people, restore stability in Europe, and make sure that any agreement is fair, lasting, and respectful of Ukraine's independence. For older Americans who remember past conflicts and the long road it can take to find peace, this moment may feel both familiar and hopeful. Peace talks are rarely simple. They move step by step, with careful words, cautious optimism, and a lot of patience. What stands out here is that leaders are still at the table, still listening, still talking, and still trying. Senator Rubio emphasized that while no final agreement has been reached yet, the very fact that the talks in Florida were productive is a positive sign. It means serious people are engaging in serious conversation instead of giving in to despair or walking away. It means that behind the scenes, diplomats, advisors, and public servants are working long hours to bring an end to the suffering that so many families in Ukraine have endured. For Ukrainians, including children, parents, and grandparents who have been separated from their homes, every small step toward peace matters. And for Americans watching from afar, many of whom have written letters, donated to relief efforts, or simply kept the people of Ukraine in their prayers, these discussions are a reminder that compassion can cross oceans. This is also a moment to appreciate the quiet courage of ordinary people, the families rebuilding their towns, the volunteers delivering food and medicine, and the communities around the world opening their doors to refugees. Their strength gives real meaning to the word peace, because peace is not just the end of fighting, it is the return of normal life, safety, and hope. So while the Florida talks have not solved everything yet, they mark another important chapter in a much larger story. It is a story of diplomacy over destruction, conversation over conflict, and determination over discouragement. As this process continues, many people will be watching and hoping that each new meeting brings the world one step closer to a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. And when that day finally comes, these efforts, and the people who refuse to give up on dialogue, will be remembered as proof that even in dark times, humanity can still reach for understanding, healing, and a future filled with hope. Number 1. She lived fast, loved deep, and trusted the road beneath her tires. That's how many described Karen Sofia Quiroz Ramirez, a fearless spirit, a biker influencer who turned her passion for motorcycles into a movement of empowerment. Karen wasn't just known for cruising down mountain roads or leading rides through Colombia's heartland. She brought people together through her authenticity, inspiring thousands who followed her journey online. With every post, she invited others to chase freedom, face fear, and embrace life fully. At just 29, Karen's journey ended in a tragic motorcycle accident. Heartbreakingly, she had shared concerns about a potential crash just hours before. Despite that, she still chose to ride, because being on two wheels was never just a hobby for her. It was her way of being. Fans and fellow riders remember her for her courage, warmth, and the way she made people feel seen. Her bright energy could lift a room, and her honesty gave others the strength to share their own stories. She had that rare kind of light. She made you feel like you mattered, said one close friend and fellow rider. She didn't just live boldly, she made others believe they could too. Through vibrant photos, videos, and heartfelt messages, Karen built more than a brand. She built a community. Whether she was teaching safe riding tips or opening up about her own challenges, she always rode with purpose. Social media was her stage, but real life was where she performed her magic. Mentoring young riders, showing love to her fans, and proving that passion can shape a legacy. Karen leaves behind a trail of memories filled with laughter, adventure, and inspiration. Her journey may have ended, but the fire she sparked in countless hearts keeps burning. Tributes to Karen Sofia Quiroz Ramirez. Life is not a paragraph, and death is no parenthesis. Few embodied the layered poetry of life like Tom Stoppard.